G&T show is intended for mature audiences. Parental discretion is advised. Live long and prosper, bitches.
Are friends with benefits?
Speaking of having a good time, Terry.
Dayton broke the G&T show. This is now the David Mack Appreciation Hour.
You assholes.
What is it about this guy that people love him so much? With his purple velvet cape and his crown.
I thought it was a little much when he had us carry him in the studio on a throne. I am awesome! Look what I have done! Look what I have brought upon the world!
There is an urge to go nya.
I heard rumors that you might be working on something else, but we won't pry much. I was gonna say
I'm gonna pry a little.
Dare you! How dare you ask me to change it? Do you not understand the majesty of my genius? And the guy sitting next to me looked at me like he was, like I'd crapped in his hat.
Yeah, it's the professionalism that sells the show. That's right.
And welcome to another G&T Supplemental Log. Very special guest this week, but let's start. To my left, your right, she's wearing her Miss Universe sash today with her tiara. It's Terry Lynn.
I'm doing the screw in the light bulb wave.
Is that all she's wearing? Is the sash and the tiara?
That is all she's wearing.
Where's my vid cam when I need it?
To my right, your left, and there he is wearing his Mr. Tribble sash. It's Ceridium.
Kapla!
And you've already heard the soothing tones of our guest. He's been a hard week for him. We discovered that he's had 4 parking tickets in the last 17 years, and that he's also not Caucasian, as he claims to be. It's Dayton Ward.
Just 4 that you know about. So, they're still digging.
Welcome back to the show, Dayton.
As long as they don't uncover the bodies, right?
My father was not Martian, as I claimed on my application.
No, you said alien.
Yeah.
Did you actually say Martian?
Lunch. I thought you said launch.
Oh
so
my
how
God.
is everybody?
Oh, we missed you.
Welcome.
Welcome back. It's been a while.
It has been.
You've been a very, very busy man.
I don't remember when we last talked.
I actually remember you had just quit your job to work.
Oh, okay. Was it just then? Okay, so it's been that long. Okay, cool.
And you've been writing like a maniac.
I have been it's been busy. That's all I can say. It's been busy. It's good though. It beats not eating. So, it beats not working.
Yeah, that's true. I noticed from today's Ask Dayton that you said that you're currently working on 2 novels at the same time.
Yeah, and note to anybody who is looking to me for writing advice: if you ever find yourself with the opportunity to do that, don't.
Oh.
I mean, the only way I'm able to do it is because they're completely different in tone and subject matter and setting and all that stuff. Otherwise, I would probably be pulling my hair out.
Wow.
But it's not something
And that is
I
some
planned.
luxurious hair.
Yeah, I know. It's just green hair. But I mean, it's not something I planned. I should emphasize that. I did not say, I think I'll write 2 novels because I've got big balls. I didn't do that. One project got delayed and backburnered, and I had to keep going back and revising an outline because the folks who do the approvals at the licensing office weren't getting on it. They were busy doing whatever TV people do, and so I would get sporadic updates about, well, we would like to go in this direction. And it wasn't anything I did wrong. It's just they kept changing their mind about what they wanted, and I'm like, well, that's okay. It's your thing. I'm just kind of a guest here. That's fine. But in the meantime, I'm going to keep working on other things because other people are paying me. And then all of a sudden they come back and go, okay, we love it. Go for it. And then so I talked to my editor, and she was like, well, can you make this date for the manuscript delivered? I said, sure. That's just a week after the other manuscript that I'm working on is due. I should be able to do that. I just won't sleep until mid-July.
Oh my God.
But I mean, it's like I'd already signed a contract that I'd already been paid a portion of the money, and it's my first time working for this particular publisher, and I'm like, I don't want to fail.
Don't want to,
I don't want to fail the first time out, So I told Mitzi, I says, if I was working full time while trying to do this, I could never pull it off. The only way I can pull it off is by dividing my day, between the two projects. And then whatever else comes across, because it's like editors get together at a coffee shop on Monday morning and go, okay, so when's Dayton's manuscript due to you? Oh, on the 1st. Well, that's great. I'll send him the copy edits for my novel he wrote for me so that it's due on the 31st. He doesn't need to sleep. And then the other guy will copy in and go, I think I'll have him write an essay that's due on the 30th. So and they all just compare notes and then send their emails to me. So
how are we gonna fuck with Dayton today?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then say, hey, can you show up for a podcast on Sunday morning? Sure, I've been up already.
I know, we're dicks. I'm sorry, Dayton, we're dicks. When did you not understand this?
I had nothing to do with the scheduling, Dayton. I just wanted to point that out.
Well, I mean, we were gonna do it like on a Wednesday night, and then Mike comes back and goes, well, that's Terry's golf night. I'm like, what?
It's my golf night. It is.
How white is that?
I belong. How white is that? I guess
it's
I
also
could say
a new
I work.
thing.
Well, yeah, I work for a Native American company, and we actually our office is on a reservation that has 2 golf courses that are owned by the reservation that we're on.
The jokes are just beating the shit out of each other to write themselves.
It is so fucking awesome.
It's
Wednesday night we have a golf league.
It's a sacred golf course, tribal land or whatever.
You have no idea how sacred these golf courses are, man. I'll tell you. That's the 15th hole over at Twin Warrior, man. It'll fuck you up.
The burial mound is on the 18th hole, and a hand reaches out and smacks the ball away. It's like,
you putted.
So we have a great time. So we have a golf league. Some people have softball leagues. We have a golf league. On Wednesday nights, we have 3 teams of 4 that go out and compete against each other. And
that's funny.
Oh, it's so much fun. Play 9 holes every Wednesday night.
Hi, my name is Terry, and I'm tragically white.
I am tragically white. I admit it.
Well, I mean, it sounds like you're on your way to, being able to champion yourself as the next director of the Seattle branch of the NAACP.
Oh, snap. Yeah, tell me about it, right?
I can't wait to see you in dreadlocks.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Can you do Alan's beard like that?
I would look like Melissa McCarthy trying to be Bo Derek. I'm just saying.
Oh, well, that's an image that's going to affect
There's a visual image for you, huh?
Well, I guess I'm not fapping to Melissa McCarthy anymore.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, that's what puts you over the line, the dreadlocks. Yeah,
the dreadlocks.
That's the line. I can't go anywhere this far, no further. Yeah, okay.
Terry in cornrows.
None
not
shall pass.
happening. None.
One does not simply fap to Melissa McCarthy. I can see the Game of Thrones meme right there. So.
Wow.
The music just started going through my brain.
Really quick, be sure to edit all this shit out before we start.
Oh, yeah, it's not happening.
Yeah, okay.
But really, I didn't want to, with you, trying to start this new career or this, not a new
full-time
career,
working as a writer thing. Yeah,
I wanted to give you plenty of time to try to get acclimated, and then I found out that you're working on 2 books at once. And
but I mean, it's no big deal. I mean, compared to what it would have been a year ago, I'm fine. And Michie was like, so how are you going to do it? I says, I'm fine. I mean, I just have to knuckle down for a month and it'll be fine. And then I'll be back on something resembling a normal schedule. I knew the job was dangerous when I took it. Yada, yada, yada. Well, I mean, it beats having to go stock shelves at Home Depot,
True.
Without really stating what had happened, I just need to know, how's Michie doing?
Oh, I'm happy to talk about that at length.
Oh my God, the poor thing!
I wasn't gonna say a word until she started saying, "Hey, take a picture of this." I'm like, "What?" And then she's like, "I'm gonna put it on my Facebook page." I'm like, "You're gonna? Okay, fine. It's open season. I'm gonna talk about it." I was going to spare you that and be dignified and a supportive husband and blah blah blah. But if you're gonna go do it yourself, then I'm taking advantage.
That has to be the coolest mom story ever, though. You have to talk.
Well,
about
I mean, here's what happened. It was Monday night. And I'm down in my office working because it's about dinner time or a little bit after, and I had just finished cooking dinner for the girls because Michie had just gotten home from work. Michie's just changed. She still works for the same company, but they changed locations. So instead of having a 5-minute commute to work, she has a 45-minute commute. Ugh. So she's not getting home until closer to dinner time now. And I typically start the dinner or cook the dinner anyway, just because I'm here all day. So why not? So anyway, and at the same time, the girls have friends over from a neighbor, kids that go to school with and that we hang out with. They're over here playing, and they're back and forth inside and out, going through the house, going out the garage, playing out the driveway, going through the kitchen. And I'm downstairs working, and I can hear them jumping around upstairs. They're dancing to something or doing something with a TV or a video game or something. And then all of a sudden, I hear this earth-shattering crash, not quite above my head, but close enough where I'm like, I actually yelled out, "What the fuck was that?" And so I
Father
ran
of
up
the
the
year.
stairs. I didn't hear anything, and so I ran upstairs, and I come around the corner, and there's Michie laying on the kitchen floor. We have a pretty open floor plan on the main level, and she's laying on the tile on the kitchen floor, and she's just kind of laying there, and all she says, it's kind of like Keanu Reeves from The Replacements, "I'm just going to lie here and gather my thoughts." And I'm like, okay, what the hell happened? And then I see it. There's a freaking...
Is that really what she said?
She said that verbatim.
That's awesome.
And
That is
she
so
was laying
awesome.
there, and one of the girls had gotten her an ice pack out of the freezer, and she had it on the back of her head, and there's the lightsaber laying on the floor. And I'm like, you guys were fighting with lightsabers? And she said, yeah, and I was winning. And then, she apparently either lost her balance or hit something and knocked herself over or slipped or whatever, but she hit the tile and smacked her elbow up pretty good, but she caught her head on something. She caught the back of her head either on a door hinge or, like the hardware that holds the bolt for the door, something.
Oh, no.
And she didn't realize it at first. She was just kind of like, yeah, I'm going to lay here and collect my thoughts. And then she tries to shift to a more comfortable position, and I see blood on the tile. And so I'm like, stop, don't move,
It's the name of our next album, Blood on the Tile.
And I'm like, Blood on the Tile, that's a great, it's a great story title. So I check it out real quick, I check her head, and she's got about 1.5 inch cut in the back of her head. And you know how head wounds are. They bleed pretty well.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so they look
profusely.
a lot worse than they really
They look
are.
a lot worse than they are, yeah.
But I can see the separation in tissue beneath the skin, and I'm like, oh, this is a nice one. She's like, you're going to need stitches. And she was like, no, I'm not. I says, no, trust me. You are beyond the limits of Howdy Doody Dayton and his first aid kit. We need to go to fucking ER. And so she was like, no, I'm not going to the ER. We're not going. And then she starts getting all dizzy and
poor thing.
disoriented. And
She didn't smell burning hair, did she?
She complains about nausea, and then of course I've got my kids and the neighbor kids. The neighbors had said, well, we're going to go out to dinner if you guys are going to have them for a while, because I'd fed them and all that stuff. So I'm like, oh great, I got 4 kids, and I got to take my wife to the ER. This is a sitcom in the making. And so I get Michie situated where we're going to take her down the stairs to the garage, and that's when the other kid's mom shows up. Right? It's almost like she knew, like moms know. And she was right there at the front door, there to pick up her kids. And I says, "You're just in time." And and I handed off my 2 to her. And here comes the baton. And then she's like, well, "What's going on?" And I explained it briefly. And she's like, "Okay, yeah, we'll take the kids." And so I ran Michie to the ER, which is at the hospital that she works for, which again is 5 minutes away. Except now she doesn't work there.
Right.
So we got in there, and they looked at her over. And of course, I knew it wasn't a serious wound in and of itself. The wound itself was fine. It was like I was worried about she'd hit her head. Did she have a concussion?
Right.
Did anything else? And she was, and she had gone and thrown up once already and didn't remember her name and all that kind of shit. And I said, okay, this is an awesome hangover story for tomorrow.
Oh,
so we take her to the ER, they patch her up. They run a CAT scan, they do an X-ray on the elbow, and there's nothing wrong with that. She's just got the war wound, and they put 7 staples in the back of her head and give her some pain meds and, tell her a stern talking to, like, if you're going to use the lightsaber, maybe you should check your footing. And so I'm sitting over here in the chair, on the side of the treatment room, kind of out of the way. And I'm just like, you realize that everybody who knows us is damn set, sure, that I was the one who's going to get the head wound plan.
That's right.
Star Wars lightsabers with the kids. I mean, it's a cliche. Thanks for shattering stereotypes, Chicky.
There was
the way you wrote it on Facebook about, talking about exactly what happened. And I thought, oh, Dayton, you were running around with the girls, and when you said that it was, I fell out of my chair. Laughing, going, oh my god, it wasn't him, it was her. That was just too funny, and it just made her twice as awesome in my eyes. I always thought she was awesome, but holy crap, I wasn't going to say
anything. I wasn't going to be the dick who posted pictures of his injured wife on Facebook. I wasn't going to, and I still haven't actually posted the pictures. I've just made my joke about it, but she posted them on Facebook like a trophy. Look, I got, it was hysterical. I mean, of course,
that's awesome.
All her friends are search and rescue techs, and they've all seen and done. Yeah. And, so to them, it's awesome. Look at all that blood. Look at that. It's going to make a sexy scar. Yada yada yada. So, she's. I mean, she didn't even miss a day of work. She went to work the next day, and in fact, she's gone now. She's down in Texas this weekend. They went down there. Their unit got called down.
Ladies, let me just say this to the ladies in the audience. My ex-wife Dawn had a horrific car accident back in the year 2001. I still remember it vividly. She was waiting to make a left-hand turn into a state park, and a guy came over the hill and smashed her from behind doing 65.
Oof.
Knocked her into the oncoming traffic lane. She did 2 360s and wound up. Yeah, it was brutal. So I'm at Dayton. I was cooking dinner. I was going to grill some steaks. I was marinating them and everything. So I call her cell phone to see where she is. And this guy answers the phone. And he's like, is this Nick?
Who are you, motherfucker?
Yeah. My first thought was,
don't be drinking my Kool-Aid, bitch.
He's got big balls, this guy. Who is it? And then he says, I'm Captain so-and-so from the Quantico Fire Department. Because this was Dayton. You probably know. This is right outside on Route 1.
On Highway 1, right outside the gate, yeah.
Yeah, not going towards Aquia Harbor, going in the other direction.
Okay, yeah, I know the general area, yeah.
Yeah, because we lived in Stafford, and so the ramp onto Route 1 to go south was being paved. So she had to go up, turn around, and then turn around in that national forest that's right there.
Yeah.
And that's where she got hit.
Oh, man.
So he says, yes, your wife is here with us. We're cutting her out of her car. She just had an accident. So
oh, my God.
I give Matthew to the neighbors, my son. He was only 1 at the time. And I go up there. They've got the jaws of life. They're cutting her out of the car. Those guys are awesome. The Quantico MPs are there. People on Route 1 are absolutely livid because by this point there's like a 5-mile backup in each direction, and it was a Friday afternoon. So we were causing issues.
When was this?
2001.
2001, okay. No,
August of 2001.
I don't remember that far back. I was going to say, I remember being in Quantico a few years ago when we went out for shore leave. We went on a Friday, but it wasn't 2001 because we had Addie, so it had to be after 2006.
I get up there, they cut her out, and they put her on the stretcher. So, of course, the first thing I say to her is, I know we just talked about you wanting a new car, but this is ridiculous.
Oh my!
The EMTs just busted out laughing. And then I'm looking at her, and her car it's bent up.
Yeah.
Like at the frame in the middle. It's bent up.
So what about the other guy? How did he fare? Did he die in the wreck? Did he have the courtesy to die in the wreck?
No, he was in a big Dodge Ram truck.
Oh, okay.
And he had his wife and his kid, because it only had the one seat, in the front seat.
Oh, God.
After he hit her and, he skidded to a halt, he turned around, jumped out of his car and saw the baby seat in the middle of the road.
Oh, God.
So he thought
he got it. Yeah.
Yeah, and he became a wreck. So when I talked to him later, I was like, no, I had the baby. It was okay. But I'm looking at Dawn. There's not a scratch on her.
Wow.
Nothing.
That's
and I
good.
looked at her and I said, could you at least have the decency when you're in a wreck like this to be a bloody mess? Can you at least something?
What a guy, huh?
I can't believe I shaved my legs for this.
Yeah, right? But it's just so funny that, it was horrible.
That's
It was
crazy.
horrible.
The joke about, I know you want a new car, but this is ridiculous. It's funny you bring that one up because several years ago, Michie got rear-ended by somebody. And I didn't hear about it until she got home because this was pre-cell phones, right?
Uh-huh.
And so she walks in the door and she's got this look on her face. Oh, no, I'm sorry. She didn't get rear-ended. She rear-ended someone.
Oh.
She slid on the ice.
Pay extra for that.
She slid on the ice and
Oh, that's a bummer.
Did almost no damage to the truck bumper in front of her, but totally destroyed the front end of the shitty car.
Of course.
Never fails, right?
That happened to me. I rear-ended somebody, my whole front end crumpled.
Because, Mitchie's like, what can we do? And she's like, and the guy's like, you can go to Walmart and get me a can of black paint for my bumper. We'll call it even. And I'm like, meanwhile, there's antifreeze and shit leaking out of the bottom end of our car. But anyway, she comes home and I didn't hear about it. Like I said, didn't know about this. She walks in the door and she's got this real shitty, really sad, somber, guilty looking expression on her face. And she's holding in her hand, I swear to God, the brochure that you would get at the car dealership, when you're looking at a new car and it's got all the models and the features and the components. And she's holding it out to me because it's for like a Dodge Dakota. We had talked about at the time getting a Dodge Dakota for me, or I was going to trade in mine or something. And so she was like, okay, you can get the new car and I'll drive yours or something. And I'm just laughing because
just out of the blue.
I'm like, are you okay? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, I hated that car anyway. But the best part of it was we were going to sell that car in a week and get a new one because she had already gone to the dealer and we'd already picked one out and it was just waiting for the thing to get here. That was going to be our trade-in.
Oh, bummer.
So we ended up getting more from the insurance for totaling it than we would have gotten on the trade-in. It actually worked out in our benefit.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well done, Michie,
Right
once
on.
again.
So, if you're going to do that, do it well. So
Yeah, I mean, there was no denying that this car, and then the fucking insurance agent, right? He has the nerve. He calls and he's like, well, I've got some good news and some bad news. I'm like, what's that? And he goes, well, what do you want first? I'm like, the bad news. He goes, well, it's not totaled.
Oh, I I'm sorry.
And I'm just, I'm dead silent. And he starts laughing and he goes, no, the good news is it's totaled and blah, 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 blah. I was like, you are the biggest dick I've ever met.
He's like, I'm an insurance adjuster. I have a shitty job and people piss me off every day. I got to have some fun.
As an insurance adjuster, that cracked me up.
But he said,
damn.
He said that if it hadn't been, turned into confetti, the car, there's no way he'd make a joke. But because it's so obviously totaled, he can make that joke.
Well, that and nobody was hurt. That's the other thing too. So that's funny. Yeah, you got to figure different the types of jokes that people talk or tell that are work related. Just like guys who are crime scene investigators, or they have to go out and look at car wrecks where people get torn up.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Their humor's dark.
Oh yeah.
I just read a book.
Very dark. I used to hang around with a bunch of coroners. I loved them to death.
I just read a book by Alexandra Robbins, who's a really great author. She did "And the Geek Shall Inherit the Earth," and she does stuff like she'll spend a year with like programmers and then write about that year. Well, she just did one called "The Nurses," and she warned you up front. Their sense of humor may not be what you would like or expect. And I'm like, no, it's exactly
what I would expect.
Doesn't it shock you when people are offended that like nurses have such vile senses of humor? And I'm like, they're literally wiping people's shit.
I was gonna say, man, it's a coping mechanism. Otherwise,
it is a coping mechanism. Yeah.
I mean, Kevin told me this story once. You remember Kevin? He used to work as a newspaper reporter.
Right.
So he would cover the cops and courts beat, is what he used to call it, for this paper. And he would go out to like car wrecks and other scenes like that and cover what was going on. And he'd be right there when the cops are talking, or the coroners are talking, or the firemen are talking. And he said he was standing there doing his thing, taking his notes to write up his piece for the paper. And one of the coroners, who's looking at the decapitated head of one of the victims, starts singing, "I ain't got nobody." And I'm like, you know what? I'm a pretty ghoulish dude, and even I would glance a little bit at that at first. I mean, I can see the reason, because you got to think he sees shit like that every day. He sees the worst in that, and I'm just like, yeah. If I was standing there, I would be like, dude, really?
My mother always used to come home with some great. My mother was a med-surg nurse. My father was a surgeon, so my house was just that way, and so I was raised with that dark sense of humor. And my mother was, she wielded it like a knife. And one time she came home from work and all my friends were over there, and she kept giggling to herself. And we were like, what happened today, Mom? And she goes, well, one of my patients caused a scene. And I was like, okay, what could that have been? Considering, I know that she's working on this med-surg floor. She goes, well, we had a rather elderly patient come in after a total hip or a total knee replacement. And so she was still kind of doped up, and we needed to recatheterize her.
Ooh.
And she says,
this is not going to end well.
Yeah, she's still kind of under the influence of whatever anesthetic she was kind of on, and she says that for the minutes that she was trying to get this woman recatheterized, the woman was yelling, "Stop fondling me!"
Dear God.
And my mom just goes around. She goes, that was the highlight of my day. I was like, oh my God. It's still one of our favorite stories was Mom. Of course, my mom told it much better, and it took 15 minutes, but it was so funny.
That one did?
So, yeah.
Oh, wow.
But you're true. I love that sense of humor.
The photos of your books that are out and about, or as our Canadian friends would say, oot and boot.
Oot and boot.
Just Star Trek novels, or
whatever, anything.
Okay. Well, you'll be seeing something.
Now that you brought it up, you're going to force us to make him explain what exactly that is. You're just asking people to take.
He doesn't have to do anything. He doesn't.
I don't have to do shit. But
that's right, man.
No, basically the idea is, and I stole the idea from Will Wheaton. It's not like I own own it. But the idea is that, you know, wherever you are, if you happen to have a copy of my book with you, if you're someplace cool or unusual or unique or visually interesting, like you're on vacation somewhere, or you run into someone who's, you know, like if you're in Vegas and you run across a costume performer, or you're at Disney World and you run across, you know, hand him the book and let him pose for it. You know, I mean, like the Roman guards outside Caesar's Palace, or, you know, Mickey Mouse or the Hooters girl, whatever, you know, just you know, like the way people are doing it, where they've got it held out there in front of some landmark. Just show me where you are and show me where the book is. You know, show me how well traveled the book is. And it's just for goofs. I mean, one year I did it, and then we had a contest for people to vote on their favorites, and the ones who won, I sent them stuff.
Yeah.
So, and I'll probably do that too.
It was nice. I still
You can
have
make a
my
calendar
thingy.
for next year.
Yeah.
And sell it.
Sell
Games,
it.
books, travels.
I mean, you know,
I still have what I received from my last.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I think you're still one of the top photos in terms
Oh,
of
well, that's
the
bullshit,
bathtub
though.
one.
Fuck,
Yeah.
Jesus, come on.
Well, I mean, the only downside was it's like, well, okay, I had to share that picture with all the other dicks in that anthology.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
but really, come on.
Well, I mean, the other thing that we talked about.
I guarantee if I did the same thing, it wouldn't win.
No, it would not win, and I guarantee you, because I'm biased. So, but I mean, like, there's a group in New York where it's mostly women, but they go to New York, and in New York, it's legal to walk around topless.
Yes, it is.
And they go to the park and they read, and they call themselves the Co-ed Topless Pulp Fiction Appreciation Society, and they basically just take pictures of themselves reading pulp fiction novels topless at the park.
Is Keith somehow affiliated with this? Because this
I
seems right
have
up his alley.
no idea, but I kept saying, why don't we have a Star Trek group like this? What's up with
Yeah.
that? Of course, everybody who takes a picture like that, it would be like Nick, you know. I'm like, no.
You know what?
Missing the point.
No, you've got one coming then. Let me tell you, buddy.
Yeah, okay.
You're going to think it was a Kilroy was here.
There's just
Yeah, Kilroy.
promises.
Anyway,
Oh,
so
well.
that's the point. It's just a harmless thing, and it applies to any book you have of mine. I don't care.
Even the new book, which we get to finally mention now because I have it in my hand. Yeah, the new book is Armageddon's Arrow, Star Trek: The Next Generation. The Enterprise is kind of back out to exploring again. Yay! I noticed in your notes that you said that you were kind of surprised that you were the one that got tagged for this one.
Yes. The reason being is because with the 24th century stuff, in particular, all the stuff that's kind of been interconnected with like the Typhon Pact and the Fall and all that stuff, there's been no real, like one writer does this crew. The only real thing like that as far as 24th century is going is Kirsten Beyer in Voyager. She's kind of got Voyager all to herself.
Mm-hmm.
And David R. George does most of the DS9 stuff. But as far as the next gen stuff, it's basically just been catch as catch can. Whoever's available and who wants to write a next gen story, that's what they do. And so when I was writing Peaceable Kingdoms for the Fall miniseries, you know, and I was batting cleanup again after having done it for the Typhon Pact, one of the things I had asked Margaret, my editor, Margaret Clark, was what does she want? How does she want me to leave things, you know, for the next writer? I said, you know, it's going to be the end of the storyline. We've been doing a lot of the post Destiny cleanup and the political back and forth, and to be honest, I'm getting a little tired of it personally. I'm tired of, you know, I'd like to do something different. And she was like, well, I want you to set it up so that Picard and the Enterprise are going to be given a new mission to go out and explore something. And I said, okay, I can leave that open-ended, thinking that another writer would get the next book in line, and I would be able to give them as free a slate, as clean a plate as possible, and they could do whatever they wanted. I didn't even name, you know, where they were going to be sent. Because I also left it open for, you know, somebody like John Jackson Miller to come in and do a storyline as end up happening. That was not the intention when I was doing Peaceable Kingdoms. He came along later with his book and kind of got inserted into the mix. So it worked out well for him. But I just thought, okay, I'm doing this for the miniseries, and then she's going to send me back to go do the stuff that I typically do, which is original series or Vanguard. And we were still talking about Seekers at that point. So I thought, I'm going to go back and write Seekers, and she's going to leave me alone for a while in the 23rd century. Well, then she comes back and says, okay, I want you to write the first Picard Enterprise novel that sets after the Fall. I'm like, well, okay. I would have done things differently if I'd known it was going to be
I was going to say, would you have done things differently?
I might have been more, I would have been less vague about what exactly they were going to be doing. I would have laid a few more seeds because I honestly had no idea. I was like, oh, shit, I got to come up with something. So I played around for a while, and she and I batted some ideas back and forth. And I said, I really want to do something that's old school Star Trek in terms of finding something weird and having to deal with it and having to fix it and hopefully make it better than you found it and move on. I really want to do something like that. And I really want to do something big and ballsy like the original series would do. You know, like they'd come across the Doomsday Machine, or they come across the big giant hand, or the the giant single cell alien and all that kind of thing. That's the crazy stuff that the original series would do, but I want to do it the way the next gen crew would face it with those characters, because it would be different. It's a different kind of story. But I just want to do something like that, and that's why the title is even kind of a TOS title.
Right.
It's the sort of thing you'd see on an episode. So I came up with this idea. I came up with the idea for the weapon and the time ship and all that kind of stuff, and it was Margaret who suggested that I make it a reverse engineering of a doomsday machine. That was her idea, because I was like, well, that's okay. I mean, she was like, go ahead, go for it. I was like, okay, I'm done with that. And so we came up with the whole idea of them finding a prototype. I'm sorry, spoilers, guys.
It's right.
Prototype doomsday machine that's been laying on this moon for thousands of years. So the idea is that it's an earlier, less powerful version of the one you see in the episode. So,
very interesting.
It was her idea to do that. I mean, it was when she said it, because I was like, well, won't they? I'll have to write it in such a way that people won't figure out what it is. But I said, anybody who's a hardcore fan is going to know, or at least suspect.
Yeah.
And then once I got over that, I said, you know what? Screw it. I'm just gonna have fun with it. And that was kind of the idea. I just wanted to have a little more fun and lighten things up a little bit after all the political stuff. And
I know that it's certainly a breath of fresh air. I know that I started reading it. I'm up to chapter 5. I got it on last week, but I started reading it on Friday, and I'm having a very nice time. It's like I said, it's kind of like putting on a comfortable pair of PJ, getting in and listening to these characters that I love so much, and then having them back out doing the kind of exploration thing. And I especially am liking the lead-in with Chen. She's a character that took me a little bit of getting used to, but I really like her. So.
I like her too, and I've liked her from the beginning. I understand that some fans don't like her, or they think she's overused, or they think she's something of a Mary Sue, and I don't really see her that way.
Oh, I don't either.
What I do see her as is she's the perfect counterpoint to a guy like Picard.
Yeah.
And I'm having, and those are some of my favorite scenes to write, is anything that has the two of them, particularly if it's just the two of them. But as long as the scene revolves around the two of them, I usually am having a lot of fun writing that particular scene. She's just so, and because the way I see it, he sees a lot of what he was like when he was that age, very young and inexperienced and maybe even naive. And, Picard has also mellowed over the years.
Very true.
And which has also been fun to write. I know, yeah. Your personal feelings about his marital situation.
I wasn't even laughing at that. I was really just laughing about the idea of seeing character growth for him, where he is kind of uptight throughout the series, and to see him as you read through his character is maturing just like he is. He's kind, like you said, he has mellowed out. He's seen some shit, and I like him, and I love the way you write him. Like I said, I love the way that you write him as a father. As much as I don't like the actual story, that's the piece of that story. I don't, me. I don't like that,
but I like the way you did it.
No. I don't like where I don't like his character's position. I don't believe that would have happened. However, you make him more believable as a father, and that is, trust me when I say that's a huge compliment, because I kind of go, okay, this is, if he were to be that father, this is how he would be, and that's cool.
Well, I mean, there's only so many different. I mean, we argued, and we didn't argue. I mean, we didn't argue. We debated what to do with Picard, and this goes back to the Typhon Pact novels, when is he going to retire? Is he going to get promoted? Is he going to become an ambassador? Right. Is he going to do X? And I said, and this is my personal feeling, does not reflect the editorial vision at Pocket or anybody else, is if you take Picard off the Enterprise, then it stops being Next Generation.
Agreed.
I think, for whatever, better or worse, he is the face of that incarnation of Star Trek. It's kind of like Kirk or Spock for the original series. And so when you pull, we can pull the other characters off, and it's already been done, and they're scattering a little bit. But I think once he's off the ship, and we may reach that point someday, I don't know, but in my mind, that's over. That chapter of Star Trek is over at that point.
Right.
And so,
I agree.
And we had this conversation back with the Typhon Pact, and because I said, well, what are we going to do? And she's like, at the time, she was like, well, we're not really sure. I said, okay, I'm going to punt, but I'll have the conversation where he gets talked to by an admiral, or he gets coerced, or he gets cajoled. Hey, you want to take a promotion? Do you want to go do this? And contemplate life with a kid, And I thought, okay, they'll resolve this. Somebody will write a book between now and the next time I come back, and we'll have it figured out. And then 3 years go by, and here comes the fall miniseries, and I get asked to do the Next Generation book again, and back cleanup again, and the same questions are still Is he going to retire? Is he going to get promoted? I'm like, motherfuck, we're going to solve this today. So it wasn't so much a demand on my part, but it was a very spirited request. Like, hey, can I please answer that question at least for now?
Yeah.
Like, let's put some kind of definitive spin on what Picard is going to be doing, so that we can do something different. So that kind of pushed into the whole, let's go back to being an explorer. And she was big on the whole exploration ideal. She wanted to kind of get into that, not just with Next Gen, but with Titan and some of the other series. And she's big on that too. So this is all part of a larger effort. So yeah, it's well,
it is as a reader, I'm finding it very refreshing too, and I'm having a good time. As much as I really enjoyed really getting my feet wet in the political aspects of the Federation that we saw through the Typhon Pact and the Fall, which the Fall was just fucking unbelievable. I loved it so much. I'm like you. I was like, okay, that was a really good course. It's time to move back to those were the entree that I like. Yeah.
Those were fun stories, and they were fun to do, and you could argue they were necessary to evolve the storyline in the post-board Federation and all that. But it's like I was just ready to do something different, and I said, the political stuff is fun, but to me the biggest thing was also to gear up to do one of these books when I've been off doing the other kind of books for a while. It's like I have to cram homework, half a dozen to 10 different books I have to read just to catch up to where everything is, not just so much for Next Gen, but for everything else, so that you can have an idea of where all the pieces are on the board.
The players are.
And I'm like, that's fun, but to do it every time was starting to get a little too much. And I said, and plus the books were starting to become really almost to a point where a new reader couldn't get on. It was getting to a point where like you can make the point that Destiny is a great jumping on point for post film Next Gen.
But since Destiny, there's a lot.
There's been a lot that's happened, and I can't really point to a book that's a good jumping on point if you want to get into the middle of all that stuff between DS9 and Next Gen and Titan and all that other stuff. So I'm like, this in theory serves as a jumping on point. I'm not going to go so far as to say, this is the book to start with if you're trying to jump on, but it's basically an on-ramp.
I like it. That's great. We do have some questions that are rolling through. Mike, do you have anything? Did we lose him?
I'm being distracted with other things. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's quite all right. It's all right. We do have some questions that are rolling in.
Okay.
The one question is, with conventions he attends, which is the best for writers and fans of writers?
Okay. In general, the smaller conventions tend to be more favorable in terms of meeting a writer, talking to a writer, going to a panel hosted by writers. That's just my personal experience. I mean, when I say smaller cons, I mean things like Starfest in Denver or Shore Leave in Baltimore, which is a huge fan-run convention that has a very large writer track of activities and panels and signings and readings and all that kind of thing. They're very, very welcoming, particularly for the Star Trek writer stable. That's probably the one convention where you'll see the most members of the Star Trek writer team, so to speak, in one location for 2 days, 3 days. As far as writers in general, your smaller literary cons that are in a lot of towns are the better place, because there's just more of a family and friends atmosphere versus the cattle call autograph line thing that is the bigger the bigger shows. The bigger shows are more concerned about bringing in the actor guests and people who can sell 8x10 glossies,
right?
Because they get a cut of that action,
right?
Versus the writers and behind the scenes people. So that's just my personal experience. I mean, if you want to come see me, you're going to have a better shot at seeing me at something like a Starfest or a Shore Leave versus San Diego Comic-Con.
Right. Kind of related to that, follow-up question was, and if a convention could do one thing to help a writer, what would it be?
Promote them. I mean, it'd be nice to be listed in the program. As far as it's conventions are weird, and it's because this is not just science fiction writer convention. I mean, it's all conventions. The bigger guests that pull in the big tickets, in the large numbers, they're the ones who get the speaking fees and the appearance fees and all that other stuff. Everybody else is typically there on their own dime, and they got to pay for a table in the vendor area, they got to pay for a table in the author area, and they got to pay for their own other stuff. Whereas the other people get pampered and brought in and whisked away and all that kind of thing. But it'd just be nice to listen list them in the program for one thing, and promote them on the website, and just let people know that they're going to be there instead of just oh, and by the way, a whole shitload of authors is going to be in that other room while William Shatner's on stage. That kind of thing. So.
I agree with you there. More of a personal writing question. What's the biggest mistake you've ever made with your writing, and how would you do it differently now?
The biggest mistake I've ever made with my writing. Wow, that's a good question. I don't. It's, without context, I don't know how to ground that in terms of what do they mean. I mean, like, did I screw something up? Did I have a fight with an editor? Did I say something stupid?
I guess it's left to your interpretation.
Well, I mean, I'm sure I said or did something stupid to piss somebody off online somewhere, and if I haven't done it, the day is young. I'll get to it. I think I've sidestepped most of those types of things. Right now the big thing is the Hugo Awards and all the.
Oh God, that has to be. I have to ask you guys. That has to be kind of a political mousetrap.
The whole thing is just ridiculous. It pisses me off because whatever high ground some people on the one side had has been eroded by the actions of a few, who of course cast everybody else in a bad light. And you've got the people who started the whole mess. And, it's kind of like Gamergate. It's like, it is. We're about ethics in gaming journalism, even though nobody has yet to go after the first unethical gamer journalist.
Right.
That's your fucking battle cry. It's the same thing here. It's like, we're all about this, that, and the other, and then you turn right around and do all the things you claim to be pissed off about that the other side is doing.
That's exactly right.
And then there are people caught in the middle who are genuinely good people, or at the very least have a piece of work nominated that has nothing to do with the political aspects of this mess that are getting screwed over. Their time in the spotlight and their time to be proud of their nomination and their achievement is being clouded by this bullshit. And it's like if it was if my grandmother was still alive, she'd smack the shit out of everybody. But I don't know. All it does is reinforce my personal philosophy of not joining clubs or organizations or getting involved in political drama within said clubs or organizations. I just have no use for anybody on either side of it. That's just my personal thing. The whole thing pisses me off.
As it should. Go ahead, Nick.
Well, this leads to a question I have. If you, Dave Mack, Kevin, Keith DeCanado, and Bob Greenberger were locked in a cage, who would come out the victor?
Who? That doesn't really matter. I don't give a fuck what name you put in there. I'm walking out of there.
Oh, I'm just checking. May have to make this happen. Keith would be the first one down, wouldn't he?
I don't know about, but who is it? Me? Bob Greenberger? Bob Greenberger would probably walk out because he's just too nice. Nobody wants to hurt
He
Bob
is such
Greenberger.
a nice guy.
So it's me, Dave Mack, me. Me and Dave would probably team up and kill everybody else.
Including Kevin?
No, well, see, I would use Kevin as a shield.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, and then I pull him out at the last second. But he's got good health care. But no,
so
I don't.
Keith
I mean,
would be the first one destroyed.
I don't. Mac would probably go after Keith. I don't know. I don't know. I tend to pick my battles. I'm getting a little too old for that kind of shit anyway. But no, like I said, I think the only sure winner would be Bob because nobody wants to hurt Bob.
Yeah.
He's the only genuinely nice guy amongst all of us.
Oh.
And Kevin is a close second. It's kind of hard there. I have to pick between the two. It's kind of like who goes in the lifeboat. So I don't know. But yeah.
Well, one of the questions that we got across was also kind of interesting. I thought it's a question for advice, and that is if someone has a limited vocabulary and is bad at writing, is there one piece of advice you'd give them to help them improve that vocabulary?
Yeah, read more.
Yeah, I thought that's what you'd say.
You have to read. If you have to be a reader, and you can't just read whatever it is you're going to write. I mean, if you want to be a science fiction writer, you can't just read science fiction. You got to read all kinds of things.
That's great advice.
I recommend if you want to improve your vocabulary, really read as much Camille Paglia as you possibly can.
There you go. But I mean, also not just reading, but I mean, read things from different eras too. Don't just read modern stuff. Don't just read stuff from a decade ago. Read science fiction that was published.
Read Burroughs.
Yeah, or read Burroughs, read Heinlein, read Haldeman, read Arthur Clarke.
Interesting.
I don't have any one kind of book that I like to read. I read whatever looks interesting when I walk past it, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what genre it is.
Because I've been seriously contemplating picking up. I've never read a Western, and I've seriously contemplated picking up a Zane Grey or something.
You should.
I think you should. I was never a Louis L'Amour fan until I picked up a book that he wrote back in the 80s called Last of the Breed or The Last of the Breed or something like that. It's not a Western, even though Louis L'Amour is known for his Westerns. It's more of it's an Air Force pilot that gets shot down over Soviet Russia and gets put in a gulag, but he manages to escape, and they send their best Russian tracker after him, and the two of them basically chase each other across Siberia.
Oh,
and
wow.
It's I bought it because the cover art grabbed me at the PX. It looked interesting, and I said okay. And I mean, at that point, I was probably reading mostly science fiction stuff. But this is before I had any thoughts about being a writer. I've just always gravitated toward, hey, that looks pretty interesting, and if I pull it off the shelf and read the back cover or read the jacket and then sample some pages, I'll pick it up. It's kind of like I just read 2 books recently that are completely different. One's fiction, one's nonfiction, and I talked about it in the Ask Dayton.
Right.
I just whatever grabs my interest at that point in time, I'm going to read it. I usually have 4 or 5 different books on my nightstand that I'm trying to get through at any one time, and they're all different. You got to read, and you got, and it's like the same thing, and then write. That's just why I don't get invited to writing seminars, because my writing advice tends to be pretty simple, which is sit your ass down and write. It's gonna suck. I mean, if you're starting out, it's gonna suck. We all go there. It's gonna suck.
Yeah.
You write more and you suck less.
The more you write, the less you suck?
In theory.
In theory?
So, I mean, the jury's still out on a guy like me, but in general, you write
I think
more,
the
you
jury's
suck less.
still out on somebody who does 50 Shades.
I was going to say it didn't help 50 Shades.
You know what?
I'm sorry.
I think that I've read it, and I think it's a steaming pile of shit.
Thank
but
you.
people
Okay.
like it.
It's just whatever. Yeah, it's a steaming.
I can't get mad at the author.
No, exactly.
Oh,
That's
no.
kind of where I'm
Put
at.
it out
I'm
there like
hey,
everybody else, and
she put it out there, and we bought it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I wouldn't write it, and I'd like to think if I did write something like that, I could make it sound better. But it's not my thing. I read it for the sole purpose of being able to comment from an informed perspective on it, instead of just jumping on the bandwagon. Hey, it's 50 Shades, it must suck. I actually read the book so that I could come back and go, you know what? I've read the book, and that book sucks. But
I couldn't get through. I could not get through the first 2 chapters. I just
she's
couldn't
got
do it.
royalty checks that we are all drooling over. So
That's true. Yeah.
I can't fault her one bit. It's kind of like everybody's pissed and moaning about the fact that Jurassic Park, we remake and resequel everything in Hollywood. Well, motherfucker, it just broke a record last weekend.
That's right.
Why they make them.
That's right. Oh my God, we were just talking about this.
Shut up and go see Birdman. We won't have this problem. So.
True.
Question from our own Jespa. How did you get an agent?
I was bitten by another agent. No. When I had an agent, I'm between meaningful agents right now. When I had an agent, it was not until I got a contract to write my first original science fiction novel. I did not have one when I wrote my first couple of Star Trek things. But when I actually developed an idea for Pocket to do the Last World War, that's when I went and got an agent. And basically, I was given a list of top shelf agents in the field who handle science fiction and some phone numbers, and I started making calls or submitting through their submission guidelines.
Yeah.
And it probably didn't hurt that at the time I had an offer in hand from the publisher. It's like, hey, I've been extended an offer to write this book. I haven't signed the contract yet. I'm looking for representation. That probably makes the interview process go a lot smoother because the agent can then, as soon as she says sure, they get 15% of everything. So I mean,
yeah.
But
so it was a little different for you.
A little different for me. I don't recommend this course for everybody.
Well, Jespa has already been published, so
that will help.
Okay.
But the idea, so get your package ready. Submit to the agent through their guidelines. Be patient because you're not the only one doing it. And get on with whatever it is you're doing while you're waiting for the agent to call back. If you have a track record of some sort, like you've been published in magazines, or you've done even if you've done self-publishing and it's been fairly well received, that helps because it at least tells the agent that you are able to finish what you start. Which is a big key. Most agents do not represent. If you go to them with an idea for a Star Trek novel, they're not going to want to represent you because they can only go to one house, and if the house says no, then then that's it. You can't shop a Star Wars novel around, but you can shop your original fantasy or your original novel to all the houses. And don't ever pay an agent up front. Of course, that's tried and true wisdom. You don't pay an agent any cash. You don't write them a check every month. They take a percentage of your earnings from whatever you get from the deal.
Right.
They are therefore incentivized to get you the best possible deal.
We will fight for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's and my relationship with my agent was a really good one. But I think at that point in time, she probably wasn't the best agent for me, and I probably wasn't the best client for her because I was just starting out. I only had the one original science fiction novel at the time. She's an established agent in the field, and she's very well regarded, and she's got a lot of big name clients on her list. And then there's my dumbass, and so I think it just wasn't a good fit for both sides of the coin. I mean, and we went our separate ways amiably.
That's good.
No, and I still would recommend her. I would still recommend her to anybody who was looking to secure an agent. I would still recommend that agency and that person. So if I got asked privately about it, I would still recommend that agency and her specifically as somebody you should at least attempt to speak to or interact with. As far as right now, since I do so much tie-in work, there's really not a lot of point to having an agent because the contracts are fairly boilerplate. The language is the same. There's not a lot of wiggle room in terms of negotiation and for rights. Obviously, you're not going to negotiate for any rights because it's all work for hire. You're not going to really, there's not a lot of wiggle room in terms of what you're going to get paid because tie-in work is different than regular work.
Right.
So why should I pay 15% of that for somebody to go, yeah, here's your contract? You know, I can read. I can read the contract and understand what it says. At this point, I can make an informed decision on it. Now, if I'm working on an idea for developing a new original concept, and if that does work, then I'm going to go look for another agent, and I've got some prospects that I'll approach at that point. Yeah, now, definitely be ready to show your work for one. That's the other one too. Don't just have your 3 sample chapters in your outline to an agent and hope you're going to sell a novel. Be ready to show the entire thing. Be ready to show the entire manuscript the first time for sure. So
cool. Now, your Armageddon's Arrow just came out a few weeks ago, but you're currently how many Star Trek irons do you have in the fire?
I have 2 with a third one in the wings waiting.
Okay, Seekers is one, yes.
Seekers is Seekers is okay 4. Seekers is in the wings because I've got the galley pages that I have to review, but it's pretty much put to bed. I just have to. Kevin and I have to go through it and make sure that they didn't dork anything up, in the transfer. You say that, but the horror
it can happen, I'm sure.
And it's also our last chance to catch anything that we screwed up that nobody else caught. It's like, oh, there's that gender switch again. Picard's a girl in Chapter 7. I've got that one. I'm finishing up History Shadow 2, which is due later this month to my publisher.
Yay! Congratulations! I'm very excited about that one.
Yeah, we all are.
I've got the 24 novel that's also due about a week and a half later. That's the one that got kind of pushed around and backburnered. And
I did see you post something about listening to some pretty awesome music while Jack Bauer kicked some butt.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I submitted my original outline back last year, like last August, and my editor liked it immediately, and then she submitted it to Fox, and then Fox sat on it for like 3 months, and then they came back and said, well, we've got this idea, and I said, okay, but I mean, I liked the idea. Don't get me wrong. I was like, okay, I'm intrigued by this, and I know I'm talking big, but
That's cool. That's really cool. I'm laughing just because I can hear it, because sometimes those, we have an idea, turns into your entire manuscript is now meaningless. You have to start over.
It had the potential to do that, I should say, but I mean, I hadn't written anything, so it didn't matter at this point other than the outline. Actually, that's not true. I had started to write because I was under the impression my due date was X, and I was like, if I don't start now, I'm not going to make that deadline, so I need to start writing and pray that they're going to like my outline. So they came back with some notes, and I talked it over with my editor, and I was excited by the idea. She was thinking I would not be happy with the suggestions and this new direction. And I know I'm being vague.
Cool.
And so I said, yeah, no, actually, I think this is kind of fun. It will let me do things that I would not have been able to do if I'd gone the original direction. And so she said, well, I'm so happy that you're on board with that. So she gave me a new date for revising my outline, which I ended up being able to use about 90% of what was in the original outline. I just had to tailor some references and things. And I submitted it back, and I said, this is like November, so it's either mid to late November. And then I didn't hear back again for another 3 months.
Oh my God!
And then they came back and they said, well, we need you to tweak it just a little bit more. And I said, okay. I mean, they generally like the idea. They're just like, well, we've got this idea, and we think that if you can do X, Y, Z, it'll better fit that idea. And you got it. This is just the game in tie-ins. You kind of have to go with that flow.
Yeah.
You have to be adaptable. And again, when they made their suggestion, I was like, yeah, I can make that work. That sounds like a lot of fun. And I genuinely felt that way. I wasn't just saying it. I mean, I'm like, okay, I dig that idea. That's cool. And I talked to my editor, and I said, now, of course, I'm not going to make this original deadline. You can forget that shit. And she was very gracious in resetting the outline, or resetting the deadline. And when she gave me the revised date, I looked at the calendar. I went, whoa, it's going to be right about the same time I'm working on History Shadow. But I can't say no at this point. I mean, I'm like, they've been very supportive and very generous. And I'm like, and they've already paid me part of the money. And I'm like, okay, I can't.
And dude, you get to write Jack Bauer.
I get to write Jack Bauer. I could put up with it for, I can put up with the stress for a month or so. And so I'm like, no, I'm down with this idea. And I'm really excited to talk about it when I get the green light.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So that's that arrow. That's that fire. The other arrow, the other irons in the fire. From History Shadow is the first of 2 books on a contract that I have for Pocket right now. The second one it will probably be another Next Generation novel.
Oh, good.
That will be out at this point 2017.
Wow.
Because
right on.
Of let's see, History Shadow will be out in about this time next year, if not a little earlier. And then of course there's the whole 50th anniversary stuff. So we're hearing some nice rumors about
what the plans for that CBS has a whole lot of shit planned.
My understanding, and there was a big thing about a month or so ago out in Hollywood where they had all the partners, and they call them partners, the people who have licenses to produce merchandise for CBS. Apparently there was a big presentation, big old deal, and I still don't know all the details about it, but apparently, my understanding is that CBS is really telling people to step up their game for the 50th.
Yep, that's what we're hearing as well.
And it's like if you're a licensee and you produce something that ties into Star Trek, we want you to kick it up a notch.
Yep.
And I don't know the particulars, but it's
the people that we know that have attended this function.
Well, maybe they can tell me.
All of them have said,
nobody can tell me anything.
That's right, and the people that we know can't say anything. So
exactly, it's kind of like they're not really to roll out their ideas. They're not really to roll out their master plan yet. And I'm like, that's fine.
But the fact is, it's nice to hear that.
Well, I mean, I knew all along they were going to do something because it's the 50th. It's like kind of
right.
For us. It's for those of us that do this stuff. It's pretty much a once in a lifetime thing.
Right.
This kind of hoopla is not going to come again for us. And as far as things like the original Star Trek, it might very well be the peak in terms of awareness and being able to market things tying into it and all that. Because after the 50th, you start kind of this downhill slide unless you're staying active with the property like Doctor Who is, things like that.
Right.
So it's like, I want everything to work. I want everything to be successful. I want everything to be a hit. So the movie is the least of my problems. I want everything to work. I want anybody who's trying to create a product to kick it up a notch. And I want to collect it all. I want to buy it all. I want it all.
I want to buy. That's exactly it. That's exactly where I'm at. It's like I want to buy it all.
And I love that logo with the 50s tucked into the arrowhead. I would wear that on a shirt. I would wear the pin. I don't wear Star Trek shirts, but I'd wear that one. Like to a convention or something. I'd wear that all year long.
It's nice. Yeah, it's a nice logo.
Subtle, cool, tasteful little thing. It's not. Some of their anniversary logos over the years have been pretty big and crazy, but this is it's tight. It's simple. It hits you right in the mouth. Boom. This is what we're about. So cool. I'm digging it. I can't wait to see what they've got. I've heard rumors about this thing or that idea.
Right. That's all I hear is rumors.
But I haven't seen a comprehensive plan, and I'm excited as anybody else. I want it to all work. I want it to be a party, and I want it to be a big year-long party.
Right, and that's the way it should be. I think we're on board with you on that.
Or like Star Wars does it. I want to let's celebrate for a year, not just on September 8th. Let's just
I have a question. Anyone that follows you knows that one of the greatest Christmas movies of all time is Die Hard.
First of all, let me correct you right there. It's not one of the greatest Christmas movies. It is the finest Christmas movie ever committed to celluloid.
I stand corrected, sir.
Yes, you do.
There
are people who think that Die Hard is the greatest Christmas movie ever, and there are people who are wrong, which can't be. So.
Any chance that you'd be interested in writing it as a tie-in, a Die Hard inspired novel or scene or something into something that you're working on?
Yeah, in a heartbeat. In a fucking heartbeat. Excuse my language. Fuck yeah. But are you talking about like an actual Die Hard tie-in or something
Wouldn't that be awesome?
Inspired by Die Hard or both?
Well, I don't know what the process is for getting a tie-in to something like Die Hard, but if you couldn't get an actual tie-in to Die Hard, the next best thing would be to have like
an homage of some kind.
Yeah, like a TNG episode where I don't know, Worf is the stand-in for John McClane, and you do a little Die Hard.
Well, there was kind of like a Starship Mine. Starship Mine was a little bit like that.
Yeah, it was kind of like that. But I mean, the thing that works for the original Die Hard, and it works to increasingly lesser degree in each of the sequels, is that in the beginning, the very first movie, John McClane was just a regular schmuck having a day and got caught up in all this crazy horseshit. And then every movie after that, it's like he became a superhero. He's like, I can bleed all day and not need a transfusion. I can get the shit kicked out of me and keep walking. I could, so and the last two ones in particular really kind of went over the top on that. He was no longer the everyman guy. It could be like John McClane could be anybody in the first movie. Any of us could have been any typical guy could have been John McClane McClane in the first Die Hard,
Yeah.
Whereas you got to be friggin', Steve Rogers by the time it's Good Day to Die Hard.
Well played, yes.
And I don't know. I still love the original movie. I still watch it every Christmas without fail. It's like the last thing I do after all the other stuff is done for the day and everybody's gone to bed and everybody's had their food and all this shit's put away. I watch Die Hard.
That's cool.
Right on.
That's a very cool Christmas
I would love
tradition.
to do something like that. I mean, it's kind of hard to do it. I mean, I think it would be hard to do a tie-in for Die Hard because it's kind of like Jack Bauer. I mean, I guess
Yeah.
I'm kind of doing a Die Hard riff a little bit with Jack Bauer because, again, how many bad days can one guy have?
Exactly.
And but in some ways, Jack Bauer is influenced by John McClane, and so I guess that's about as close as I get. And that thing, it does kind of run through the back of my head as I'm writing the Jack Bauer scenes in this novel. Is that I'm trying to portray him as very much a regular guy caught up in crazy situations, not a superhero. So if he gets beat up, he's gonna feel it. If he needs blood transfusion, we're gonna have to get him one, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, not that happens in the book, but I'm just saying he's just a regular guy caught up in crazy circumstances and has to muddle through. So the interesting thing about the 24 book is, I've actually written so far, he has eaten, he has caught a nap, and he's even taken a leak.
Yay!
Those things
Right
just
on.
never happen in 24.
Has he been in an area where he doesn't get cell signal coverage?
Yes, and I'm going to leave that question hanging because there's a reason for that.
Sweet.
Cool.
He does not have access to a cell phone. He does not have access to a PDA. He does not have access to a computer.
Yay!
He does not have access to many of the staples of modern technology that we take for granted.
Awesome. That's something I need to read.
Is he in an Amish town?
No. No, he's not.
You can unequivocally say this.
Jack Bauer goes Amish. Sorry.
But we wouldn't be able to see the clock because they don't have clocks there. Or it would be
Oh, that's
it would
funny.
be a dial.
it wouldn't be a digital clock though.
It'd be a sundial.
Logo for that.
Sorry. Too funny.
It looks like it's noon.
And let's see. As far as Star Trek, I have one other Star Trek gig that I still can't talk about because the publisher hasn't announced that I'm working on it. But it is a Star Trek book. It's not a novel. And I turned in the manuscript for that about a month and a half ago, and I'm waiting to hear back from my editor on that.
Right on.
I'm hoping it's the first of several gigs. So we shall see.
Yay.
Right on.
Cool.
Good luck.
Yes.
And then let's see, what else did I do? I wrote a story for the Rush anthology that Kevin J. Anderson is editing. All the stories are inspired by Rush songs, and so Dave Mack wrote a story for that anthology. I forget which song he went with because he changed a couple of times on me, and I lost track. But for Rush fans, my story was inspired by Red Sector A, which is the one about the prisoners in the concentration camp.
Oh, wow.
It's a science fiction story allegory inspired by the concentration camps.
Wow.
So
Nothing like a little light.
yeah, it's a little light
topic.
reading before bedtime. But
Holy crap.
mine. It's not like I tell the story of the song. It's just that's my inspiration, my point of departure. So
Right.
Let's see what else is going on.
Now, were you working on Pangea?
Working on Pangea. In fact, Kevin and I are working on that together. And Kevin is actually taking the lead on Pangea. He's writing the first draft of the story we came up with, and then I'm going to come behind him and add the pieces in that I'm supposed to add, things like that. We typically don't work like that, but he said he wanted to take point on it, and I'm like, fine. It's not like I don't have 17 other things going on right now.
Right on.
So he's, in fact, I imagine I'll hear from him today, as a matter of fact, if I haven't heard from him already. So yeah, staying busy. And I'm doing a couple of essays for the Sequart organization. Last year we did one for the Star Trek Comics essay, New Life and New Civilizations. It was edited by Joe Baronato and Rich Handley. And then they did another collection of essays about Planet of the Apes comics that I wrote an essay for earlier in the year. And now I'm doing another essay for them about Star Wars and a second essay about Planet of the Apes, but it's going to be about different parts of the franchise. Like I think I'm supposed to write about the television series from the 70s. So people are finding me and putting me to work. So
Cool.
Right on.
That is great.
and I have no idea what the next gen book is going to be after Armageddon's Arrow. I haven't. I'm supposed to turn an outline in next month, and I don't have the first fucking clue other than it's
TNG Die Hard.
Well, I mean, my thing is, what I liked most about doing the Arrow was I got a chance to play with some of the characters more than I got to
Right.
play with them in the fall in the Typhon Pact. A lot of that was dictated by the fact that I was batting cleanup on a miniseries, so I was having to juggle multiple threads and other things that had been laid out in the previous book. So, I mean, I was basically in service to the larger story more so than my individual story. Fun way to work, but it's not something you want to do every time. So I got a chance to play with some of the characters, particularly the lower decks characters, the newer faces, the people who have come along along to replace the main cast that we've had some rotations off the ship with the way the storylines evolved. So I had a lot of fun with those, and I want to do more of that with Chen and Torek, the Vulcan engineer, and a few others. People are on me about the Torek thing. You haven't read far enough, Terry. So
no, I haven't.
But
I'm really looking forward to it, though.
There's a thread in the book that involves the engineer Torek, the Vulcan, and
love him.
Are like, what the fuck are you gonna do about that? So and I haven't decided yet if it's a thread that can be pulled in the next book or not.
Interesting.
It depends on the storyline that I come up with for the next book. Maybe it'll be the Die Hard book. I don't know. We're due for a rip off of The Most Dangerous Game, so we might do. I don't know.
Nick, did you have any questions? Did we lose him?
Is he sleeping?
No, we might have lost him. I know that he was having some issues.
He's chilling.
No. Well, I hadn't heard him in a while, so I had a feeling he got dropped out. So
yeah.
I think, however, I'm good. I got all my questions in, and once again, we just need to thank you for all of the work that you do for us. When we get stuff to you, you're always actually very gracious. So thank you very much.
Actually, that Ask Dayton, thank you. I appreciate that. That Ask Dayton that Nick sent me, he actually sent it to me a couple of weeks ago.
Well,
I
can't
do it.
We thoroughly understand. The fact that you still talk to us is just fucking awesome. So thanks.
Yeah. It's like, what the fuck you want now?
Now, you've got some gigs coming up, right? I mean, has Starfest happened yet?
Starfest came and went back in April.
May.
April or May, I don't know anymore.
Right.
The next one I've got is I'm actually going to Phoenix. Kevin and I will be in Phoenix at the end of the month for a show called Leprechaun, which I have never been to.
Oh, interesting.
I've never been to Phoenix outside of their airport.
Oh.
I'm sure I hit a connecting flight there once. But I've never been. I was invited back in the early part of the year. They actually invited me to be there as a guest of honor, which is the first time I've ever been invited in that capacity to a show. So I talked him into let me bring Kevin along. I needed an assistant or somebody to carry my luggage. So he's going to be there with me. But they're also going to have David Gerald's going to be there. Ken Kelly, who's a fantasy artist of some renown. Jennifer Brozek's going to be there, and Larry Hama. If you're a comics fan, Larry Hama is pretty much the guy who did everything that you claim to love about 80s G.I. Joe.
Oh, have fun.
Oh, cool.
And he's still writing in comics. He's still active in comics, but all the stuff that you know about G.I. Joe that came out of the 80s with Cobra and all that stuff, that's him. He did it all. So on a personal note, as a fan, I'm totally jazzed about being able to meet him.
That's so cool.
I'm taking G.I. Joe shit for him to sign.
That is so
Right
awesome.
on.
That is so awesome.
So.
And then after Leprechaun?
Shore Leave will be the next one for me. Kevin actually will be at Comic-Con in San Diego before that.
Oh, that's right.
He's got the week in San Diego, and he'll be there as part of Hallmark's crew.
That's right.
So if you want to see Kevin, go to the Hallmark booth on the Lucasfilm Pavilion, and you will find him almost certainly. And then we'll be at Shore Leave in August. And then I think that's my last one for the year. Kevin will have New York Comic-Con in October, and I think that's it for us so far. I mean, something might pop up toward the end of the year, but I have not been approached by anything about anything.
Well, we do have a correspondent at Shore Leave this year, even though we're going to have our booth at Star Trek Las Vegas.
Yes, your loyalty is noted. Your lack of loyalty is noted.
I know. But G&T, actually, Janice will be there,
cool,
acting as our correspondent. She just confirmed that she got the hotel room today. So we are set, and you guys will be bugged by the G&T show, but just from the really nice one of us.
I don't know for sure. I've heard rumblings to this effect, nothing substantiated, but my understanding is that CBS wants to have a bigger presence at the Vegas show next year, and that might include some of us being out there.
That would be wonderful.
That was a conversation like, hey, what about, and I'm like,
I've already told Mr. Van Zitters, if you guys need places for your authors to sit, you let me know.
Well, I think
we have plenty of laps.
What I mean is, I think he's trying to entice licensees,
yes,
to be there, to have a presence. So like
that's awesome.
IDW and Pocketbook and Star Trek Online, and not just guys who happen to be affiliated with those efforts, but like a formal presence, a booth.
That'd be nice.
Go see the IDW talent. Go see the Pocketbook talent.
I'll tell you, when IDW, well, you were there. Were you with us when no, or you missed it? When Terry? Oh my God! Last year, IDW had Harlan Ellison as their guest at their booth, right?
Okay, and but that's creation.
No, that was IDW.
Well, but I mean, that's what I'm saying. IDW did that. Creation did do that. Okay? Creation is about the 8x10 glossies,
right? But it was nice to see IDW have their own booth.
But I mean, Creation couldn't even be bothered to bring in Harlan fucking Ellison. They're not going to bring in a guy like me. I understand that. I mean, I understand. That's just where I am in the food chain. It's a reality. I'm not. It's not.
But I would like to see. I would just like to see Pocket there. I would just like to see empty pocket there.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
It's the 50th anniversary, so I'm hoping that everybody's, like I said, that mantra seems to be step up your game.
Yeah.
So I'm really hoping that, and kudos to IDW for bringing in Harlan Ellison, because that was a major stroke of genius.
It was a major stroke of genius. It was, and that line for him
I like a
was
lot
awesome.
of the guys who write for IDW. I like that. I think that I like being able to catch up with. I don't know them very well, but we see each other every co-op, and I like talking to the Tipton brothers, and I like talking to some of the other folks who are involved. I mean, bring John Byrne in, for crying out loud.
No kidding.
I like that. I mean,
that'd be fun.
I'd stand in line to get something signed by John Byrne or Harlan Ellison. Okay,
true.
So
it's true.
And I don't stand in line for hardly anybody.
Ellison told us
there he
to
is.
get something signed by you.
No, he wouldn't. He wouldn't, and he doesn't need to. That's the point. He's Harlan. He's Harlan Ellison, man. He occupies rarefied air, and justifiably so. So it's nice that they brought him in. It's a shame that it had to be in the back door. It's like that guy should have had center stage somewhere.
Well, he did.
Okay.
I mean, once he was told that once they were figured out that IDW was bringing him in, they threw him on that stage. Let me tell you,
sure.
and he was there twice.
Once somebody else did,
I thought it was 3 times.
That's exactly right.
You know?
That's just how it operates. But it was nice to see him, and it was fun to hear him. It really was fun to hear him.
I could listen to Harlan Ellison talk about anything.
Oh my God, it was hilarious.
And I don't even need to talk. I just want to be like, just hand him a topic in an envelope
and let him go,
and then go and just sit back, because it's going to be a ride. No, I mean he's a genuine treasure, not just for Star Trek, but in science fiction.
Science fiction, yeah.
He commands an audience. So yeah, just shut the hell up, let him talk.
Sure.
It's like there's the idea of being on hey, how would you like to be on a panel with Harlan Ellison? Why should Harlan Ellison have to be on a panel with me?
Aww, yeah. Aww.
The man has earned his stripes. So
well, he was definitely a blast to have at the con, and I'm glad. I was just glad to see IDW there with their own booth. So I was like, yay!
Well, I mean,
yay.
I see them at Comic-Con. I mean, like I've seen them at San Diego and I've seen them at New York, and they always have an impressive presence on the floor. I mean, and they bring in their talent. They got signings throughout the weekend at the big shows like that. So it's nice that they and I'm hoping they do something similar next year for the 50th. I mean, their Star Trek projects seem to be going full tilt boogie. So
well, yeah, the crossovers have been real fun. I kind of laughed my ass off at the last one, but whatever. I'm having a good time looking at them, and
don't you be disappointed with the Apes, man.
Yeah, I'm not complaining. I am not complaining.
The only thing
I'm laughing my ass off at them.
The only thing I'm bitter about that crossover is I didn't get to do it.
There you go. Well, we should probably wrap things up so you can get back to your family, and thank you again for joining us. People, Armageddon's Arrow, Star Trek The Next Generation is out now. You can get it from your favorite booksellers.
And I would suggest and request that the next time your wife is having a lightsaber duel with anyone, you please videotape it.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. My biggest thing, and she even said the same thing, because we're sitting there in the treatment room, and she's like, I'm really sorry. I know I screwed up your writing for the evening. I said, yeah, I'm on a deadline. You couldn't have waited a week to bust your head open? I actually went home at one point because everything had happened so fast. I'd gotten the kids in with the neighbors, and I took off.
Stove was still going, wasn't it?
I left the front door open, not just locked, but hanging open. And
wow.
I live in a nice neighborhood. So I went back. So I went home, and I turned on lights, and I locked doors, and I made sure the stove was off. And I grabbed my laptop because I thought, well, we're going to be here. They're going to give her a CAT scan. They're going to x-ray her. Well, shit, we'll be here till 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And I get back 10 minutes later, and they're already done. I'm like... She even said, "Go home and make sure the kids are okay." And I said, "Okay." And the neighbor took the kids for the night and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's nice.
They're like, "Oh, we're Netflixing and watching popcorn." I'm like, "Great. What's on? Orange is the New Black." No, I don't know. What do you? My 8-year-old will love that.
Well, I did want to ask one more question before we go. What is the great Dayton Ward watching right now?
I'm not watching anything. I haven't even turned my TV on. I mean, I'm 5 feet from it, and I don't even have it on.
Okay.
I believe you.
What was the last thing you watched then?
The last thing I watched. The last of any. Well, you know what? My wife and I binge watched Scandal.
Okay.
We had like 11 or 12 episodes on the DVR, and we burnt through everything but the last 2. So we're not quite to the season finale. And that show is a fun one to watch. Binging. Cool. But I've got stuff. You should see the stack of crap I have over here to watch.
I believe it.
Movies that are new. I've got crap on disc. I just a couple of weeks ago, after it had already been out for a couple of weeks, got to go see Mad Max. It had already been out for a couple of weeks. Everybody had been talking about it, and I finally got to go see it. And I think I was a month after it came out before I got to see Avengers. So it was just I treat myself to all that crap once I'm done. It's like
once you're done,
right on.
So
nice little reward for your hard work.
And there's stuff I want to watch, but I'm just like, if I start, I'm not going to stop.
Yeah.
So
Self-discipline, people.
Yeah.
You heard it.
Well, what is the first, once you finish these 2 books, what is the first thing you're going to pick up?
to do what in terms of what?
To watch or read, or what's the first thing you're going to do besides sleep?
I'll probably have a coma at that point. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Okay.
I don't think that far ahead. I don't even know what I'm going to have to eat here in an hour. I got to feed the kids. It's lunchtime.
No problem.
That's the other thing too. Michie's out of town, and she's out of town until tomorrow night because she's down in Texas doing a search. And,
well, thank the kids for their patience.
She left Friday, so it's been me and the girls for 3 days now. And it's
hence the $6 million man watching.
Yeah, last night I had to take part of the evening off and just chill. So the girls and I watched. Awesome. We had taco salad and watched. They wanted to watch Steve Austin. I was like, okay. Well, I knew they weren't going to stay up very late because they had been up very early yesterday morning. Got them up yesterday morning because they had to go do Taekwondo boot camp and promotions. So they were up at 6 o'clock, but they came home and they crashed at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon and slept. They slept till 4 or 5, and then they were up until midnight.
Oh,
so I'm like, well, when you guys take your asses to bed, I can go back to work. And of course, I had only slept like 3 hours the night before too, so I'm mainlining Monster Energy at this point.
Rip it.
Yeah, so it's like I got 5 hours sleep last night, so that's like being on vacation. So, I don't know what I'm going to watch. I've got Blu-rays to watch. I've got Interstellar, Kingsman, and a couple other ones that I've been dying to watch. But I know if I put in Interstellar, I'm going to be watching it. I won't.
Raging Bull.
I don't have. Sometimes I can put something on in the background and let it run as noise because I've seen it 1,000 times and I don't need to watch it. But if it's something
Raging
like
Bull.
that, or I just bought that big.
Come on, what are you doing? You're burning it. Give me the steak. Give me the steak. Give me the steak.
I just bought that Blu-ray set of the original Galactica series.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, how fun.
And I'm torn because that's one of the ones that's kind of on the cusp. I could let it run in the background as noise, but I want to see how they remastered everything and made it look real sharp. I'm like, shit, I want to get it done. So I didn't even crack the cellophane on that one.
Come on, punch me. What are you, a pansy? Come on, punch me.
So I don't know. I usually just leave the TV off when I'm writing.
No problem. I was just
Martin
curious.
Scorsese movies are always so quotable.
Oh yeah, all of them are. But I'm like the girls are gonna be like, when are we gonna go eat? When are we gonna go eat? When are we gonna go eat? So
well, we'll let you go take the girls go eat.
Yes. Thanks you very
again,
much.
Dayton.
Yep, no problem.
Nick, take us out.
And that was Dayton Ward. He's not truly Caucasian, as he has claimed. We've discovered that in the interview. And there goes Terry. Look at her. She's backing out the door slowly. Backing out slowly. Backing out. And there's Dayton standing at the door waiting. Oh, you knew that was going to happen. And there's Ceridium. Kabla!
Music for the G&T show is provided by Warp 11, Andrew Allen, Grethor, and 5 Year Mission. This has been a Busy Little Beaver production.